Alright, so let's take a look at our implementation of our unsorted list. Let's open up our Solution Explorer. And inside of the source file, we have our header and we have our CPP. We need to go ahead and add a new item, and we're going to just call this main program. And go ahead and hit add. And inside of this, I'm going to be doing some output, so it's C plus include IOStream. And then let's go ahead and throw our main in there. And then we need to also include our file, which is our header file, where we're going to be playing with our unsorted list. And remember, one file has a capital S, our header, unsorted list.h. And that looks pretty good. So inside of main, you can test it by just running a cout statement. And we'll do like hello. And we need our using statement. And we're just going to include standard. So that should get rid of that error. So let's go ahead and hit Control F5. So it might print off screen for me. So it's building everything. And you can see hello, press any key. I'll go ahead and end this line because we're going to use this cout statement to test our code. Let's hit Control F5 again to test it. Okay, you can see our full code builds fine. So notice that we're including our unsorted list here, so we have access to all of those public variables and so forth. So the way that you create a object to access those is you use your class name or your header file name, and then you can just name it like mu for my unsorted list. I'm going to throw a comma in there. And now when I copy this and I paste it, the way to access it is with our dot operator. So you hit dot, and you can see here that it gives us full access to everything in that header file. So for example, let's check if it's full, right? So let's hit that. And so one way of doing this is you can copy this and run it inside of your cout statement, right? Oops. And let's see if that builds. And you can see here that our list is not full, it's 0, okay? So let's start adding items in there, right? So after we start adding items, we know what the answer to that is going to be. It's going to be a 1. So all I have to do is paste that mu list, and then let's just start playing. So if we look back at our header file here, um, let's say I want to insert a float, which is like a 2-point or 3-point, whatever number, 4-point, so forth. So you can see like we have insert item, we have delete item. So how do we exactly do that? Well, all we have to do in our main program is do my list dot grab our insert item, right? And then I'll enter 18.1, right? And then I'm going to go ahead and print out. So we might not necessarily need this guy, right? Because we have a mu list dot print. Let's test that to see if that works. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit Control F5, run that. And you can see element at index 18.1, so we should go back and fix that, right? So, because right now they're right next to each other, so let's go ahead and space that out, hit save. So you can have a lot of fun just kind of playing with running this, working with unsorted lists. And remember, these are just sort of a bunch of other values. Index is at 0, 18.1. Again, I made the same mistake. I didn't, I should have put a line behind this with a set of quotes and space that out. So, and then we can just, again, play with just inserting a bunch of items, right? So we can do just a bunch of these. And there's other ways of sort of, we can create a function that loops through these so you can just easily insert items by user, right? Let's delete this guy out. All right, let's paste that. Maybe we'll insert like a 20 here, then a 30. Let's make sure that we throw our semicolon in here. So now when we run this, you can see we have these. And it tells us what index it's at. We'll do one more and then we'll end the video because we're already at 5 minutes. Let's print it and then let's go ahead and delete an item. And if you forget, you're like, dang, what was my, because again, this is a lot to take in, right? Delete item. And you're like, well, what am I actually deleting? And remember, I always specify that you should be working it out on paper at the same time. Well, there's two ways of doing it. You can look in here and you can say, well, we're looking for the actual item here, right? So if the item isn't there, so let's go ahead and pass in an item that we know is not there. So let's do 50, right? So I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'm going to go to print. Actually, let's do this a couple ways. Let's actually copy this and delete an actual item. You guys can see it's going to print the list twice. So I want to get rid of this guy, 20.1, right? So let's go ahead and hit Control F5, and I'll put the compiled code next to it. So you can see we've ran it 3 times, 1, 2, 3. So in this first print, 0, 1, 2, we've got all the items. And then in our second print, it says we want to delete item 50, right? So we're back at 0, 1, 2. It's exactly the same. But when we ran it the third time, it found 20.1. So essentially, that's the building blocks of an unsorted list. And I understand this still might be confusing. So you should do this a couple times. And actually, what I suggest too, I didn't really get this until I took a class and he made us work it out on paper. But I also rewrote a lot of this stuff. I reworked unsorted lists using C#. Now we are going to go into the standard library, which includes a lot of this stuff already, like lists and stuff. We're going to do that later after we've already gone through all of our own lists. All right, so go ahead and play through get next item, get previous item, and all that good stuff. And you should be just same sort of structure.